So this is an idea I had a little while ago. I've been wanting to get a lot of different scrap woods that I have, mostly in oranges, reds, maybe some yellows as well. I want to take all these random strips and then I want to glue them all together. And after they're all glued together, I'll flatten them on my planer. And then I want to get some real thin veneers from them. Like these, like this thin. I use 3mm veneers. And with that, we're going to start our next marquetry project. And I've got this little idea that I just drew out real roughly. And kind of like the Forrest Gump road is what I'm thinking almost, with these sandstone or these different mesas. So first thing I'm going to start doing is probably just start on the bottom here. And I just want to kind of line up the very bottom. So this quarter sawn cherry will play down here. And then we'll just start getting all these random woods and start putting them together. So I got a pattern that I like. It's slightly oversized. Just goes past the top of them a little bit. So I think we'll keep this, and yeah, I think it looks pretty good. So we're just gonna, yeah, that'll be clamped in there. Just move that. Back to square one. After my little incident, I had to go through and reorganize all the pieces. I then went and glued them all together. The next step was to plane the piece down till it was flat on both sides. I then went to the bandsaw and sawed the piece in half. I ended up making two of them just in case one was better than the other or if one broke down the line. Following the resaw process, I went to the planer and I cleaned both ends up and just got all the bandsaw marks off. I then attached it to a little jig that I made. This allows me to send real thin wood through the planer and it's not very sketchy. And there's also, as you'll see, there's two pieces of real thin juniper veneer on each side. And those are just there in case the piece tries to snipe. It'll snipe on the juniper. The next step is to very carefully get them off that sled. I will also go and check that the veneer is close to 3mm, which is what I like to have my veneers at. If it's a little over, that's totally fine. So here I got our veneer that we'll be using for these plateaus. I also have this super curly white oak, and I'm wanting to use it for the background area. So we'll attach this to this, get our position right. I still got to trace out this design using some carbon paper, and then we'll transfer it onto our pieces of veneer here, and then it'll be running over to the scroll saw finally and starting to make some cuts. So this is the fun part. Here I am transferring the drawing from the tracing paper to the veneer that we will be using. All right, so after tracing it out on the carbon paper, here's what we're left with. Just a small little line that I can follow with my blade as we get ready to cut this. I think it's kind of cool. This was a total accident, but right where these transitions start, where the slope stops and it goes straight up, it's also on a border of different wood materials. And it's different for this side and that side. Here it borders on the cherry and the Spanish cedar. Down here it's on the Spanish cedar and I totally forgot what this is. Think of Bolivian rosewood. But yeah, that'll be a pretty cool feature to add. And I'm excited to show how it looks. The next part is just cutting out this mesa. I only got one chance to do this, so I usually switch to a brand new blade and just be prepared to take my time because this is a long process. But I will spare you guys the pain and just keep this thing real sped up. And we probably won't even use the whole footage. Following this cut, I glued the two of them together and then I just let them sit overnight to get it all dried. I also added some tape to kind of help pinch it together, but it's all off camera and you'll never see it. All right, so I got my veneer here. This is the next day. Let it dry a little bit overnight. And the next step is adding a scene underneath it. So I took a piece of cherry, taped it on the back. We'll put glue in here. We'll close that joint, then we'll tape it. And then we'll start building our picture scene down here. Don't really know what we have planned for that yet. Probably gonna be some dead trees and just other things that you see in this typical environment. But that's where we're at right now. So let's keep moving. So I found a picture of a dead tree out in a desert. I really wanted to emulate it on this piece. So I began by taking a copy of it and then drawing it out. Following that, I'll also make another copy of what I just drew, and then I will try to figure out the grain direction I want everything to go. Once I've determined everything, I'll then transfer the drawing onto the veneer, and then we'll get to cutting away. From here on, we just start doing a bunch of cutting, and anytime I want to change the grain direction, or if a branch moves in a certain direction, I'll usually get a new piece. I just want to keep all the grain as continuous as I can throughout the project. I also had a bit of an accident where I cut veneer that didn't exist underneath the project, but in this case it wasn't that big of a deal, and we were able to just carefully saw right along the edge of it and create a new piece that would then drop in after. One thing I've learned, the more that I do this marquetry stuff, the more ways you learn that you can fix your mistakes and move forward, and it's just all part of the learning curve, which it's great that not every mistake means I have to throw something away immediately. It's just a part of learning and finding ways to work around our problems. With the tilt of my blade and the direction that I cut these pieces, all these pieces get installed from the backside. I don't really know the best way to kind of show how that works, but there's plenty of references all over YouTube that'll explain it way better than I possibly could. So we got this picture. It's pretty much all done. I'm getting ready to do one last cut, and that'll be for the moon, which is going to be going right up here. It'll be a nice circle, and I got this curly maple, and what I'm hoping to do is to get a pretty similar curl. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Basically, I want the curliness on the maple piece to line up with the curliness of this white oak. So that's why this piece is slightly tilted that way, because the curls go this direction. I'm gonna try to match these ones. Doesn't have to be totally perfect, but it might be a cool little feature. So here I'm learning that cutting circles is actually really hard. It's real hard to get one that's perfect. And frankly, in the future, if this ever comes up again, I'm just breaking out the shaper origin. Before I got too crazy with the whole glue up, I was sure to add some marks just so I would know how to line up the circle. It's kind of hard to figure out where that is when it's covered in glue, but it worked out really good and I was able to get a real clean fit the first time. I also attached the veneer to a piece of MDF, which I'm using for my substrate, and that's all off camera, and following that I squared it all up with my new Festool table saw. As far as job site saws go, this thing is so great for my garage. I love that it's got the sliding action on it and it's super accurate. Once the piece was squared up and cut to the final size, I started the sanding. I also noticed a few spots in the white oak and I needed to go clean those up with a little scraper. So that's what I did next. I did a final sand and then did some checking real quick before I proceeded to finish it. Here I'm just using a simple Osmo oil. I just rubbed it on, rubbed it off, real easy to use, and which is perfect because I hate putting finish on anything. Eventually it'll get a metal frame around it so it can be displayed on a wall, but for now here's the finished marquetry. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to, you can subscribe, and if you don't want to, that's totally cool too. I don't really care.